back to the boy's room. He was ashamed to have forgotten. Next to his sleeping mat, where he had carefully placed it, was the new bush knife his father had given him. He picked it up and carried it loosely, casually in his hand, just as the drum signal came riding in on the sweet-smelling morning air. It said, "Tokpwe, Tokpwe, Tokpwe." Then it said, "We are meeting, we are meeting, we are meeting." Then, "Praise the king who deserves praise, but plant corn with your Tokpwe." Sosu, his father, stood up, saying, "Corn does not come from the sky. Let us go." Hwesuhunu fell in step behind him, and behind Hwesuhunu, his 4 young brothers, carrying calabashes full of water. As they went down the trail that descended from the high ground, Hwesuhunu watched his father's long, easy stride, and he stretched his own legs so that he stepped wherever his father left a footprint. As the trail went into a palm grove, the sound of the drum became faint. When they emerged, it sounded loud and near. Another trail angled out of the tall grass and met with Sosu's trail. There, his bush knife in hand, Agosa, the Tokpwegan, chief of the Tokpwe, was waiting. They greeted each other, then went on together. As the trail lifted over a rise in the ground, there suddenly before them were the other workers. Baja, the drummer, stood at the foot of the trail, beating out, "Tokpwe, Tokpwe." Some were sitting on their heels talking. A few were honing their knives with stones. 4 men were laughing at the story of a gay exploit. The air was full of sound, of metal, of voices and drum beats. Hwesuhunu was glad. He stood with his weight on one leg, casually ignoring his brothers. He picked up a stone and sharpened his new blade, which needed no sharpening. Tokpwegan Agosa clapped his hands 3 times, and the drum echoed the beats. He held up his fly switch, saying, "Our shadows are long. Our work is great. Let us begin. They who make the gunpowder win the battles." The men went straggling toward a field overgrown with trees and brush. There they formed 2 groups, one on the east, one on the west. Agosa flourished his fly switch. The men began to sing as they slashed at the brush with their knives. One group sang, "If you want a large fish, give something to the stream." And the other, "Their legs go fast, but their feet are on slippery clay." Baja beat out the work signals, and the knives rose and fell to the drum's compelling voice. The Tokpwegan sat on a fallen tree to judge the competition. As the brush fell, it was gathered and placed on a fire. To the sound of cutting, shouting, laughing, and drumming, there were added the smell of heavy smoke, the rising of sparks, and the gentle falling of dead ashes. Hwesuhunu worked with sweat on his body and sweetness in his veins. Today, at last, he was truly a man. From time to time, Sosu glanced covertly at Hwesuhunu, seeing a man clothed in the slight body of a boy. Hwesuhunu's dark skin glistened, and his keen-edged knife glinted in the sun. At first, his strokes were too rapid. When he became aware of it, he slowed his pace, for it was a discourtesy to his fellow workers to exceed them. Also, he understood that the woodcutting would go on and on. When one goes on a long journey, he does not run as though fleeing from a leopard. Once or twice, the eyes of the Tokpwegan rested briefly on Hwesuhunu. He thought, "The boy is small, his arms are thin, but he bends his back. There is spirit in his bush knife. He will grow, and his body will be nourished by work for the village. Today, the Tokpwe is richer by